Hi, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a project for you that I'm using my triple play fillers on. This is a way that you can create what looks like a gift wrap package on your cards. This is really fun to do with your pattern papers, and I'm using the image that looks like a piece of washi tape and then just one of the bow elements from that triple play fillers set. In addition to the triple play fillers set, the products that you'll be needing are some ink pads. I've got the Gina K Black Onyx and the Gina K Cherry Red. I've got some blocks for my different stamps. You won't need as many as you see me using today, but I just have them all in different blocks to save time from taking them on and off. But you will need a long one for that washi tape and then some larger ones for the greetings. And finally, a smaller one just for the very tiny images. I'm using a button stamp from my triple play frame set. You're also going to need some pattern paper, and I am using a piece from the Gina K Floral Essentials. This was on the last Stamp TV kit. This is measuring 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Then I've also got a piece of Gina K Pure Luxury Black Onyx. This measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, so that just layers on to give you a nice little 1/16 edge border. And then finally just a piece of the Pure Luxury Gina K Base Weight White, and this is 4 1/4 inches by 11 scored at 5 1/2. Going to give you some tips for selecting your designer papers in just a second. Also, we're going to be using just some tape adhesive and some foam squares for adding some dimension to that bow. Going to use some scissors to cut it out and a little hole punch for the tag. And then I'm going to be using just some of the Gina K Cherry Red Baker's Twine. Okay, so let me show you a few things with the pattern paper first. I'm going to be using this piece, and I chose one that is very pale and has a very simple pattern. The busier the pattern and the more colors that you have in it, you're going to have to pick a very dark ink to make it look like that ribbon wrap that's going over the pattern paper is solid, okay? So, another one that might be good from here is this blue, and on this one I would recommend doing a navy. So trying to keep it tone on tone. Stamping a yellow over this, that's just not going to look good. You want to keep it within the same color family and then go darker. What you can also do if you really have a pattern that you like but you want to create this look of a ribbon wrap around it, you could also stamp this image onto a piece of white cardstock and then cut it out. Obviously, you could do a strip of colored paper to wrap across there or to cross on there like a bow, but then it's not going to necessarily match that stamped bow, and this way you're going to have perfect coordination with your ink and that bow image. Okay, so I think, let me show you these two layouts here really quickly. These can also go in all 4 directions, so depending on how you want to have your greeting oriented, you can turn it portrait or landscape style. And this one I chose to have it wrapped around the corners like you do when you pull it around the corners of a box. And this pattern really helped me out because it had these diagonal lines on it, and so all I had to do was just line it up to make it parallel on either side so it looks like it's wrapped around those corners. But I think for today's card I'm going to demonstrate this one, and I'm going to show you how you can make this stamp that is shorter than the matte line up. Now for this, it's kind of nice on the corners. You just have to stamp it once, and that is long enough to go across the edges, but you're going to need to stamp it more than once to go all the way across there. Okay, so let's start with our cherry red ink. This looks really pretty over this kind of bubblegum pink pattern paper. So I'm going to ink this up. Now keep in mind it might resist a little bit depending on what kind of ink that you're using or depending on what kind of pattern paper. The Gina K pattern paper, if you've used it or not, it has a shiny finish on it, so it's really pretty with that gloss, but sometimes it can resist the ink. So what you can do if it doesn't look solid the first time is just go right back over it. Now when you're stamping it, you're going to want to have the seam, you can see it's not long enough, so I'm going to have to stamp it twice to go all the way across along side of the map. Wherever you want to have your bow is where you're going to have the seam meet up. Now you can have it meet up with the straight end, or you can have it meet up with this torn end. So I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. And I'm planning this so in a rule of thirds so that I can have my bow at this top corner. So I'm going to pull that away. Now let's ink it up again. And don't worry too much about it meeting up exactly, because you're going to have about 1 inch that's covered by the bow. But the reason I want to try to nest it together is so that it looks like this is a continuous line all the way across. So you see how those just nest in together, that torn end? So I'm going to lay that down. Okay, now let me stamp my greeting really quickly here so that I know where I want to put the top line of that second ribbon. So I'm going to put the Celebrate right here, and this is in the black Onyx. Okay, now we're going to go across. And this is long enough to go all the way across, actually. So let's just stamp that once. That's easier than trying to get it lined up on both sides. Okay, and lift off. Now we're going to stamp our bow. And what I did is, this is 6x6 paper, so this is the other piece or other portion of this paper. I'm going to stamp my bow onto this, because if I stamped it onto white, it's going to look a little bit different than stamped onto this matching pattern paper. So I'm just going to stamp this right here. And then I'm going to add this button, just because I think that that is kind of a nice way to make it look more layered and just really emphasizes the middle. So I'm going to do that in black. You could also put a real little button on here if you wanted. And that's a nice way to use your embellishments and give it even more dimension and texture. Okay, so let's cut this out. And I've shown you before how you can use a circle punch to cut around that and then just go into these notches, but today I'm just going to cut it out with the scissors. Very easy, just go around and then little V's, and you can cut that however closely you want, or you can leave a little bit of a lip around it. Okay, now I'm going to put my foam square here on the back. And then this is going to go right here on that little intersection. And now I want to make a little tag with the tag stamp from that triple play filler set. And you can use the black if you want it to pop more, or you can use the red, either one. I'll just go ahead and use the red. And I'm just going to use this on the scrap of paper here. And then I'm going to ink up just one of the words from my Thinking of You stamp. Now, where is it? Here we go. Okay, so Thinking of You, and I want it to say you. But there's so many different words that you can add from the triple play frame set that will fit into this tag, because I planned it that way. So if you wanted to say wish or baby, if it's for a baby shower, that would work as well. And then I'm going to use my black Onyx, and I'm going to ink this with the stamp face up, and I'm just going to ink up the U. So this is called omission when you're just doing part of a greeting. So it's going to end up saying Celebrate You. So I'm going to put that right in the middle there. And we'll cut that out. And then just make a little hole in it. And I'll show you how I like to wrap my twine through there. I'm also going to pop up this little tag, just because I want it to stay in place so it's hovering above the Celebrate and isn't hanging down. So I'm going to take this as a 1/16 hole punch, and you can add your little hole to either end depending on which way you want it to be oriented on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim this later, but I'm going to just make it into a little loop and twist it up, and then I'm just going to push this, just twist it together, put it to the hole, and then pull it through. And I find this a little bit easier than trying to thread one of the ends of the baker's twine if you have a small hole, just because it can want to unravel on you, and this way they stay together. If it's too hard to get through that small hole, then by all means you could go ahead and punch that more than once, or you could use a larger hole punch. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to separate the pieces. And then since this is already mounted on this foam square, I have a little bit of a relief there where it's standing up, and I can just wrap that right around. I don't even have to tie it off, and you can leave these as long as you like. That's kind of pretty with the longer tails. And then I'm just going to trim just a tiny piece of this because that's all I need for my tag. And I just think this is such a charming look for when you're giving somebody a gift, to have a card that looks like a little gift package. So Christmas, Hanukkah, baby showers, birthdays, just a really easy card to do. And it's a great way to use up your pattern papers. So we put some adhesive on the back of that. Just layer that right on the black. And then I hope you enjoy this project, and this gives you lots of ideas for how you can use your pattern papers to create gift wrap looking cards. Please visit my blog Hands, Head, and Heart for more ideas and inspiration using all of my stamps, and visit us on Gina K Designs and Stamp TV. Thank you for watching today, and God bless.